Take us at the beginning of your journey. You were talking that you didn't start initially with IT, totally different background. Probably you wanted to become a biologist, a doctor, but then something happened and you chose, like, I want to get into IT, I want to get into networking. How did it happen?
You are right, exactly. As I said to you before,
Mm.
I didn't come from any IT environment or circumstances. I grew up in very modest family.
Mm.
My mom was police officer, my dad was electrician, so nothing to do with IT really. And the closest person who had something to do with IT was my brother, who studied electrotechnics. And I remember that he brought the first computer home, and it was this old Sharp computer which used magnetic tapes for loading programs and games and everything. So that was my really first touch with the computer technology, with IT. And I personally feel that this moment sparked in me a little like intention or inclination to the technological world, to IT, to computer world in general. But I haven't had anybody around who could lead me, who could show me the ropes, who could show me how to get there, what to do, what to focus on. So basically, I was self-taught all along the way during my elementary school, during my high school, up to the university. I was able already during my elementary school to do a little IT stuff here and there, build my own computer, let's say assemble my own HTML web page, help with some IT problems for my teachers, and I really were I was trying to get, or how would I say, I was trying to get into the IT myself somehow at my own.
So there was a lot of curiosity.
Yes, there was a lot of curiosity. I like to explore. I like to learn new things. So I bought the books, read them. I bought the books about hardware of the computer, about software, things like, as I said, HTML or PHP technologies, about operating systems and this kind of stuff. But I didn't have really a structured way
Mm.
how to move forward, how to grow in this direction. Now, then in Slovakia, we have multiple levels of an educational system. So then on the second level, for my secondary school and or high school, we can say, I choose the business academy. I didn't go to any technical oriented school. I did the business academy there. And the business academy was also interesting. It helped me a lot to understand these economical aspects of running a business, accounting stuff. I, for example, gained there a pretty important skill to me, and that's the typewriting, fast typewriting on a computer. So that one helped me later on during my certification, for example, a lot. We can speak about it later on, but still, it was not related to IT itself. And I had it in myself. I had it in me always that I want to continue in a technical way. I want to really do the IT because that was the thing which mostly interests me. And then after high school, after the business academy, when I graduated, I decided that I will go for IT university really. So I applied to multiple universities around the country, and the University of Žilina won because of its study programs and because of its location as well, because it was closest to my hometown. And the quality of the education there was very high as well. So I went there from a business academy without previous IT experience, some comprehensive IT experience. And I have to admit that at the beginning it was very, very hard and difficult for me to get used to the way how the university works, what amount of information you need to grasp, what amount of skills you need to get there. And I battled a lot first year, but then it slowly started to come up together, yeah, and started to go into the right direction. So the second year of my university studies, I had many subjects which I was enrolled to, but I started also with the networking subject there, the networking academy, especially from Cisco. That academy was embedded inside the study program in our university. So I basically started learning networking from the beginning as part of this academy. And there was one very important moment which happened at that point, and that was my first meeting with the person who completely changed my life and changed the direction of my life. And it happens sometimes that you meet this one person and suddenly everything is different. And for me, this person, career-wise and professional-wise, but also personally wise, it was a Peter Paluch, my teacher and mentor, who delivered these Cisco Network Academy courses in my university. Even more funny is that it was an accident, me
So,
getting to his courses, because there were multiple teachers and I completely randomly chosen one of them, and it was a Peter Paul because I heard that he's kind of a good guy. He knows how to explain stuff, and one classmate recommended him that yeah, he heard that this could be the good option. So I enrolled to his courses, and suddenly my mind was blown away by the way how he approached students, how he explained the technology, how he explained even the most complex topics in a very easy manner, easy to understand manner, simple manner. And I found him so like, how would I describe it? Yeah, I found out him to be the maybe the most humblest person and most to earth person I have ever met. So all these together sparked in me huge ambition and huge inclination and love for networks, actually, because that until this point I really didn't know what would I do, what I would like to do, where to focus my attention, whether to development, whether to hardware, because the first study program was computer engineering, focused more on hardware and microprocessors, or I will be really a software developer. I didn't know. Peter showed me the direction, and from that point on, I was extensively focusing on networks, and I was so appreciating his mentoring, his leading, and that's how my career started in the computer. And
so he, the way he approached networking, was it like if you become a network engineer, you're going to be this kind of professional, you're going to get a lot of money, or was it about the knowledge?
it was not about the money actually, because the money is not the primary motivational factor in terms of university studies or the networking maybe
Hmm.
itself. At that point in time, it
Okay.
wasn't. But the way how he was knowledgeable and how the networking field, how the networking field looked like for me. It was practical, it was interesting, it had a ton of things to explore, to uncover, to relate between each other. Basically, that was my major motivation to go into it and to become something like Peter, because he was at that point my role model, not only personally but also professionally. I saw how many things he know, how he understands the topic, and I wanted to go there. I wanted to grow there to that level of understanding knowledge, and that practicality of computer networks was very, very pleasant to me and very, very interesting to me, because you can see the outcomes. You can really, when you configure something, when you connect some devices together, you can easily and quite quickly see the outcome of it. You see that you provide some service, you provide some connectivity, you can connect two different things together, even around the globe easily. And that sparked very, very big interest in me.
So back then, that course,
Mhm.
was it already about Cisco professional certification, or you were learning like networking, but from a university perspective, this is just another, I would say, another class to get your to be graduated in university.
Thankfully, it was already focusing on Cisco devices, and it was made by Cisco. This whole networking academy, it was directly made by Cisco. So you were really focusing on practical configuration of Cisco devices. We had the labs already built from Cisco devices, switching, routing. We explored all the networking protocols in general, how they relate between each other, how they cooperate with each other. And it was great to me to see the real world already. It was not just a theoretical networking course without any practical application, but the whole course went from the beginning really practically. After each theoretical session, we had a practical lab where we tested everything and where we explored the real behavior, real world behavior of all the topics learned. And the level back then of this networking academy was CCNA
Okay.
routing switching, basically. So I started really from the scratch, from the beginning, and at that point, without any previous networking knowledge. Even though I did some IT stuff, as I said, some hardware, software stuff, but no networking yet, no at all. So I knew what IP address is. I knew that there is something like switch and router, but there was no proper networking baseline made for me or learned by
Okay.
me. So this was my beginning from a scratch, from zero, really. I
From
started
zero.
personally from completely zero. But thanks to the Peter and I guess it was lucky from my side as well to enroll to his class. But thanks to him, I went really, really quickly
Hmm.
to CCI level. Oh, sorry, CCNA level first. Yeah, of course. Peter at that point was already CCIE, so I had this picture of him
Mm-hmm.
that yes, he is a CCIE. I know that I can do it most probably sometimes later on, but I started on CCNA, of course. But the thing is that my interest helped me to get there pretty fast. During the first semester or 2 semesters, I guess, I was already on CCNA level and I passed all 4 parts of the networking academy because
Mm-hmm.
the networking academy consisted of 4 parts. And I already in the second year of my university studies attended these so-called network academy games. So I started basically competing in the networking, and it was pretty interesting. It was like it was chance and option to showcase your skills and compare them with other classmates from the university, from the high schools as well, technically oriented high schools. And basically, the competition was about theoretical part. So we did some kind of test, and then we got a practical scenario which needed to be configured and properly configured according to your notes and tasks. Pretty similar when I compare it now to CCIE certification. But back then it was, of course, on a level CCNA or CCNP, let's say,
And
better
you
said
did
CCNP.
all of these games,
Yes, yes, and
these
I started
contests.
in second year attending these games, and also already during the second year, I went for a national round of the networking academy games. I passed and won the local round and went to the national round, where everybody from the whole country gathered and attempted this scenario. And first time I ended up third in the national round. So after going from zero in several months to CCNA, then we really explored even some CCNP topics already with Peter, and then I ended up third in national round, which was for me huge, huge motivation, additional motivation
I believe
that
so.
really this has potential, this makes sense. I'm good at it already, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
still at the beginning, but I see that when compared to others, I got pretty quickly where I am. And it even more motivated me to continue learning the networks. And I spent the next years of my university studies dug deep in networks.
Okay. So
Of
you
course,
you
then
got it into networking. You became CC. So at the university, you didn't become
it's no,
CCNA.
no.
You did the
I
CCNA Academy.
I became CCNA, of course, then after because the
You took
part
an exam.
I took an exam already. I took an exam and I took also CCNP exams actually. I became CCNP certified during the university already because we had that option after the networking academy games and after the networking academy itself, we received a voucher for exam actually from Cisco. So the successful students who passed all the tests after networking academy, they received a voucher. So therefore, I went for a really like exam, real world CCNA and then CCNP exam, and I passed those. So and even before I graduated from the university, I was already CCNP. But again, it was pretty much thanks to the Peter because he
Hmm.
mentored me, he led me, he showed me the way how to get there, and that was something I was missing before. Now I had a mentor, I had a teacher who showed me how to get there, and I'm trying now to forward it further to other persons, to other people, because it's really important to show a way how to get there. And it at the end, it's not so difficult, but you need to know how and what to focus on, and
Yeah, and like
it is
for you, you
possible.
you you met Peter then, and it's interesting because you became CCNA, CCNP while
Mhm.
still studying at university. Now, from a market perspective, your brain is ready to, I would say, the technology that companies use. But you're still in university. What happens next?
Well,
So after you graduated, okay, you
I
are
had,
CCNP
yes,
in the market. So what happens next?
I
I'm
have to
interested.
say that even during the university, I had already some IT gigs there. I had already some jobs in IT because of course, when you have the basics and you have even CCNA, you can start looking around for some jobs. And I was successful at that time by looking at some options around the city where the university is really nice. And I started with on let's say it was a hardware development company. I started there as an internal IT engineer or administrator, let's say. So I already got the real world experience, how to administer smaller but still pretty interesting infrastructure consisting of some networks, some servers, some applicational services like Asterix for VoIP, for example, and we had some also databases to manage. We had some infrastructure devices like firewall and load balancers to manage. So interesting stuff. And this was still during the university study. So I would encourage everybody, even if you are studying still, look for a real world job during your studies, gain maybe not full-time experience, but at least short-time experience with some real world company, real world infrastructure. It doesn't need to be big, but it is important to really see how the world is going and behaving because at the university you will get the skills, you will get the knowledge, let's say, but in the real world, you will see the processes, you will see the company structure, how the different departments interact between each other, how the quality management goes, and stuff like this. So this is something very, very important in my opinion. And
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. Definitely. Because I don't see many people using this strategy.
mhm,
Like, I'm still at university. I'm taking the professional certifications. Like for you, Cisco had this program
mhm,
in the university.
mhm.
Plus, okay, I'm already CCNA, and let me see if I can find something that I can apply these skills that I learned while studying.
Yeah,
At the
exactly.
same time, still at the university. Man,
Yeah.
that's well played,
And
I would
yeah,
say.
yeah, and there was another opportunity in the university which I used because I like to basically grasp all the opportunities
Mm,
out there. And we had a student company at the university. It was not a real world company, like a commercial company, but student organization.
okay.
And we were taking care of the university campus, or not the university campus, dormitory campus networking completely, like networking services, networking infrastructure. So we were like a service provider for students living at the dormitories. And we had at that point around 3,000 customers from the university. So all our students living on dormitories consumed our networking services, our application services, some streaming stuff. We had multicast streaming services for them. We had some printing services. We had copper infrastructure as well as Wi-Fi, for example, and stuff like this. So that one was pretty interesting as well to gain the expertise because you didn't have real world customers who would pay for your services and who would
Yeah,
be angry if something goes wrong. But this was kind of a big lab where even some failure was not so
critical.
bad or critical. Yeah. And I became their head of networking section. So I was really responsible for managing and developing the whole network infrastructure around from the physical cabling level up to the application. So that was also great and crazy time and a way how to get some experience and expertise.
So you learn a lot and you did a lot during university.
Hmm.
So let's move away from university. What happens next?
Yeah. After I ended and graduated the university, I mentioned already that I attended these Network Academy games. So I did it for multiple years. I've done it for 3 years or 4 years in a row. And multiple times I won the national round. And one of the presents or one of the gifts for the winning of the national round, the prizes, it was a part-time job, internship, let's say,
Mm,
in a very huge company, IT company in Slovakia, which is T-Systems, Slovakia, or now Deutsche Telekom Global Solutions, if I'm correct. And I went there for a summer, for a few months in the summer, and basically based on our experience, mutual experience, they offered me directly the job contract after I finished the university and after I graduate. So I knew exactly where I will go after the university, even before ending up the university. And that's how it happened. Actually, I went after the graduation to T-Systems, Slovakia, and I started really working with the data centers there. So I kind of switched a little bit from the routing switching and IP world, which I was exploring more during the university, to the data center world, where I was again newcomer, let's say, and a newbie because the data center world has a lot of to do with networks, but there are differences. There are new platforms, new products, new CLIs, let's say. We had multiple vendors there. We had not only the Cisco, but we had also Arista and some other devices like firewalls from different vendors, load balancers from F5 and 8, 10, for example. So completely new world for me to explore and switch and move my focus more to data center networking, especially in the data center
so how
infrastructure.
was like to adapt to that environment? Totally different environment, multi-vendor environment, data center
Mhm.
environment.
It was interesting. It was interesting for me. I had spent quite a time to grasp all the necessary knowledge and skills needed for managing nexuses, for example, or to managing F5s, let's say, or other devices which were used in their infrastructure. But at the end, it went well. It was for me very interesting, and I enjoyed the process actually. What I was not prepared yet, or I had
Hmm.
no experience with yet, it was the processes there, because T-Systems as a huge corporate, it has pretty thorough processes and set ways how to do things, how to perform changes, how to perform some troubleshooting and some operational tasks. Everything has its own process set and description of the procedure. And we were constantly in touch with engineering, which was one level up above us, and we were getting instructions from them. It was like an architectural department which was trying to standardized way how the networks are configured and stuff like that. So that was a pretty new world for me, but I enjoyed the experience and I got into the train pretty quickly, I would say.
So that's where you decide, okay, I'm going to become a CCIE.
Yes, yes, definitely. They already provided me ways and options how to learn for CCIE. So I had some courses available, for example, from INE already. We all know Brian McGahan and his courses
G.
because he's a great teacher as well. So I went through his courses. I had some internal resources for it as well. I read the books. One of the books I received was book from my mentor Peter Palu, who is co-author of Routing Switching Certification Guide together with Narbi Kocharian. So I kind of combined books, video resources, even Cisco white papers and documentation together to prepare and start preparing for CCI. At that point, I was not yet thinking about going to practice exam. I was just thinking about passing the written. That was my goal at that point, long-term goal, because even written was a beast of an exam compared to anything other I've seen up till that point. The CCNA and CCNP, they were difficult, but not,
Not the CCIE level.
yeah, not the CCI level, not close to the CCI difficulty.
Yeah.
And when I first attempted the CCI written, I was surprised, really surprised. What is the level of the test and how many areas you need to cover and in which depth?
Hmm.
Because this depth was really, really surprising.
Which one did you attempt? Routing switching or data center?
Routing switching, yes, I
Routing
started
switching.
with because routing switching, I was most proficient at the routing switching at that point still. So this exam at that point was closest to get and closest to reach, from my
Mm.
opinion and from my point of view. So I attempted real routing switching, yeah, and of course I failed multiple times for written. I
How
think
many?
two
Do
two
you
times
remember?
two times I failed, and on the third attempt I did it. And
Okay.
if I remember correctly, to be honest, I didn't or I haven't passed the exam during my T-Systems years because I spent 1 year in T-Systems and I attempted multiple times CCIE written, but I didn't get it yet. I get it later on when I enrolled and started in Aleph in my current company. So
Was it the
that was the way
company?
basically. Sorry?
Is it something related with the
No,
company
no,
or
no,
what?
no. I don't think so. It just took time. It took time really, and you need to invest a lot of time into it. You need to prepare thoroughly for it, and the path is very important. Yeah. Sometimes you can be successful on first try. Yeah. There are people who passed it on the first time, but mostly it takes you multiple attempts, multiple revisions of all the topics, multiple revisions of all the information, a lot of lobbying, a lot of practical experience as well, and you cannot get it overnight. You need to
Yeah.
spend really months
Yeah.
on it, and eventually it will happen definitely for all of the folks which are preparing. It will happen definitely, but you need to be consistent. You need to stay on it and pursue it, push it forward. Yeah, and that was for me as always the case. I did it uh, for multiple.
Okay. So you got your written. So okay, I'm ready to take the lab, or let me wait a little bit.
No, no, from Britain, I think it was 1 year until the lab. So I really, in my case, I
Mm.
spent a lot of time labbing stuff, preparing thoroughly for the scale of the CCI lab because the scale is also something to consider there. Not sure about nowadays the exam, but in my time, I basically had to configure around 50, maybe 60 devices during the day, during the CCI exam, almost from the scratch most of the time. So you had to really produce a lot of configuration. You need to produce a lot of settings for all the different protocols and aspects of the network to fulfill the task list and your case there. But it was not easy to get to this level because I was used to configuring four switches or four routers or
Yeah.
some little part of the network. Even in the systems, we were dealing always with some smaller part of the network with that particular change or case
Yeah.
or troubleshooting, but not in such a scale. We were, at the CCIE exam, you need to cover the whole environment end to end with routing, with switching, with QoSs, with tunneling, with multicasts, unicasts, everything is there. So it took time again to get to that level. I was not successful on first attempt again, so I first attempted CCIE written, or not written, sorry, practical exam. If I'm correct, I need to check when I actually received the exam.
So many CCIEs now
Yes,
that you
yes.
you forget.
2017. 2017, I passed the practical exam. It means that I spent more than 1 year after starting in Aleph, preparing and learning, and I had one unsuccessful attempt, and then the second one in 2017 was successful,
Okay, walk
finally.
me through your preparation for the first attempt. What happened? How was your time schedule? You already
Mhm.
mentioned that you had tiny resources. So let's unpack this a little bit because people they want to know, okay, what are the resources that I have to use
Mhm.
if I want to pass the CCIE lab exam? Is it different from the written exam? Is it? It's not.
It is similar, I would say. Topic-wise, it is similar, but the way how you prepare is different, or at least in my case, it was different. Because for practical exam, you need to lab every topic which is in the blueprint. So I would really maybe recommend starting with the blueprint, see what is in the blueprint for that exam topic-wise, and drill deep and drill through your topics inside the blueprint and try them in practice. It can be virtualized environment. It doesn't need to be physical environment all the time. At least back then it was like that. Yeah. I was able to almost everything virtualized, and that's how I proceeded. Basically, I tried to take the blueprint and go topic by topic and try to research it, do some notes about it, do some summaries about routing protocols, about switching protocols, spanning tree, let's say, about then multicasts and PIM variations, then about some QoSs, then about some tunneling or service provider technologies like PPP and PPPoE, this kind of stuff there. So really, in a structured way, I went through all the topics. I tried to lab them, to create my own summaries of them. And then at the end, I was pursuing the complex scenarios. So I was really trying to put all the pieces and components, all the building blocks into the bigger scenarios which were available through INE, which were available also on other sites back then, and I just loved the whole scenarios, with including dozens of switches, dozens of routers, and tested it also in this way. And by doing this extensive lobbying, you are working at the same time on your speed and on your, let's say, I would say like you are learning how to troubleshoot effectively and eliminate your own mistakes pretty quickly and realize your own mistakes pretty quickly. Because along the way, when you have to generate hundreds or even thousands of lines of configuration, you will do mistakes and you will always forget something. And you will, by doing this and fixing your own problems inside the scenario, and you will remember better and do not repeat those same mistakes on the exam later on. Or you will exactly know where to focus because you experience the procedure, you experience the problem already, and you know exactly where to start looking into it, what to check, what will be the most probably cause of the problem. So besides just like experimenting with the technologies, you will also gain expertise in troubleshooting, which is very, very important for CCIE exams. And That's what I felt like. I felt that I'm learning tons of the stuff from my own mistakes along the road because
How much time you were investing to study? Like during the weekdays, because
a
you
lot.
still were
Yes.
working
Yeah, I was. Yes.
and you have your personal life also, and because you're like I'm going to stop this part. But how much time you were you investing to study during the weekdays, during weekends? Because this is where people find to be harder is to find time to study.
I'm the person who really needs a longer time window to properly focus, or I like it. I don't need it, but I like having longer time windows where I can really focus and deal with one specific thing or multiple things or some area in general. So I tried to find those longer windows, and for example, during work days, I haven't practiced all the days, all of them, but I found out always like maybe 2 or 3 days during the week to spend, let's say, 4 hours or 5 hours in a row during the evening, dealing with CCIE preparation, dealing with labbing, dealing with studying stuff. So it was not like the whole week.
Hmm.
I haven't had a plan for the whole week, but I did multiple days in a week, and I studied for 4 to 5 hours, let's say there. And of course, if some weekends were free, there I always attempted these more complex scenarios, which would easily take you 6 hours or 7 hours. At the end, I remember during the final stages of my preparation for practical exam, I was easily able to spend 10 hours a day preparing, and I did these simulations of practical exam. I really did. I opened the one scenario and worked for 8 hours on it, and I tried to get it right in time and as close as possible to the expected outcomes. So, of course, the time is really crucial to have it, but you don't.
Yes, yes, yes. People they struggle with it. I
Mm,
struggled the first time as
mm,
well. Like, what is the best time
mhm,
scale? Is it in the morning, afternoon, in the evening?
mhm.
And also what to do on the weekends that you have more available time.
For
So,
me, it was evening, exactly, as you said. For me,
okay.
I really liked to work in the evening, in the night even.
Hmm.
That also applies to my hobbies like playing keyboards and doing musical stuff. All of this seems for me to work in the evening better because I don't know if it is due to the calmer time in the day, there is a silence around, and I don't know,
Probably
darkness,
you know
and
you
you have,
won't be interrupted.
yes, you won't be interrupted. And I always had a great experience of learning and doing creative stuff in the evening or night.
Yeah, yeah. I'm For me the same is true because during the day you have things that you have to do for others and someone might call you and happen this, but at the night only if it's a real bad thing, people are going to call you.
Yeah,
Besides
yeah.
that, you have plenty of time available. So when you tried the first attempt, you failed, and on the second one you passed. Did you notice what is, without saying the question, please? Did you have to change something that you realized that I did this mistake on the first attempt? Is was something about
I
the strategy, about the concepts?
exactly. It was about the strategy because first time I did one strategy mistake which is covered in multiple courses already, and I focused on it later on, but I didn't go first through the whole scenario and through the whole task list
Okay.
because these tasks in CCIE exam, they relate. They are in a correlation somehow. Some of them needs to be done first, and they will allow others to work on top of them.
Yeah.
And also the structure of the tasks doesn't need to really resemble the way how should you do it, because you should you should not necessarily you should start with the first task there, but maybe you could pick some other which is later on in the task list, and work on that first, which will help you later on. There is also these low-hanging fruit tasks, a lot of them. Yeah, so where you are really proficient, where you are confident, and by doing such a tasks first, you will really gain confidence. You will calm yourself down a little bit because you know and you see that it is working as expected and everything will be fine. So this was something which I didn't do first, and I remember that I had to rework some stuff along the way. So I did something at the beginning, but then I found out suddenly later during the scenario that it is not according to the description, and it is going and it's interfering with some other tasks, and I need to
Okay.
rework it or return back to it, and this was quite time consuming. I lost a lot of time there. And I remember that I was not able to finish the whole scenario in the time there. Not at all. I ended up quite a lot behind.
Hmm.
So that was real the major problem for me there and the major reason why I failed there because first I didn't finish the whole scenario and I had some mistakes, of course, along the way as well. So I do not know exactly which ones because you don't receive the
Yeah.
detailed report, but I
Yeah.
know the area. So I assumed what was the problem there, and therefore during the second attempt, I really uh, I put some time into reviewing the whole scenario, creating like this mind map for me, what it involves, how should I configure it, what should I do first, which tasks relate between each other, and I need to be careful with them to do it properly and in proper order, ideally. And it helped me a lot at the beginning. And I started exactly with the low-hanging fruits, then with some related tasks which needs to be done together in proper way and I also increased my speed, I would say, because I already knew the environment, how it looks like, how it works, the test environment, I mean, what options you have there or you do not have there, right? And it is different when you hear about it, and
Mm-hmm.
it is different when you experience it yourself, and you have different different
Hmm.
outcomes or points taken from it. So this helped me the second time a lot, and these aspects.
You mentioned there something very important, and I want to have your opinion on this. You did the routing switching, which means it's 2016, 2017.
Mhm.
Back then, Cisco didn't have what we have today is the practical CCIE lab exams, where you get to play in the real environment, similar to what you're going to see in the real exam day. Do you think that if you had that exposure before the first exam, that would probably increase the chance of you passing the exam on the first attempt?
It would increase the chances, but I wouldn't say it would really help me be successful on the first attempt
Mm.
because there is a lot of more to it. It's not just about having all
The
the
exposure
devices
to
and
that
exposure
environment.
to the environment, yeah. But there are other factors which I mentioned already.
Okay.
You need to have the proper speed, the proper time strategy, and time planning for your exam. You need to experience the environment of the exam, which is possible nowadays as well, if I'm correct, right? And you can do it. You can do this mock-up exam or
Yeah.
mock-up labs, yeah. So it's really important to test it out for yourself on your own hands and
But you think
adapt.
it's recommended for those who want to take the exam, like, give it a shot on these practical labs?
Yes, definitely, definitely. I would recommend it if possible, and if you have the options to buy it or to somehow get them, then definitely go for it and try it for yourself because that feeling and that experience can be very, very helpful during the
Yeah.
actual exam.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, so you got your CCIE. What happens? What changed in your life?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was a huge goal, long-term goal of mine. Suddenly, well, the whole surrounding started to realize that I'm really kind of good at it. I'm persistent, I didn't surrender along the way. Also, my LinkedIn profile started to be more and more visible and active because all the employers and all the other colleagues and coworkers saw it. Yes, of course, and it was pretty nice experience because it's like getting a appreciation and gratitude for your hard work, and this is like a final step and final goal on the way to reach that status, that very good status, I would say, and it was very good experience.
But you weren't satisfied. You said, "Okay, I wanna be crazy again. I wanna get the CCIE DC."
I'm always like that. Always pursuing more and more challenges, and I like to be challenged in work, in real life, whatever is going on. I like to grasp these challenges and go for them. So definitely, this was not end of it because I saw that it is possible. I can do it once, then why not do it twice? Along the CCI routing switching, I was already quite into data center networks and into data center environment. So that was my next natural goal because I had the closest relation with this technology now, and I was really working for the data center stuff. So then the data center CCI was next in the
Did it
plans.
take you the same time as the routing switching, or
It would,
you already had some skills there and said, "Okay, I'm going to do it in 1 week or in 2 months"?
well, I did it actually for even longer time, I would say, because I did CCI routing switching in 2017
Hmm.
and data center in 2021. So it took me 4 years to get into the CCI data center. So, well, it was also due to the time factor,
Pandemic.
let's say, because we had already some ta or I had already some job responsibilities. I was very widely oriented at that point because Aleph as a company is specific in a way that we are not just the distributor of some network devices, but we are also a professional partner, training center, and I along the way become the team leader as well. So there is managerial stuff as well. So a lot of was going on work-wise, and there was no so much time for preparation for the data center CCIE. So it took longer time. I took my time basically. I was not in a rush. I was not hurrying, but at the end, eventually, I prepared. I passed the written exams as well again. So I passed the CCNA at that time, data center, CCNP data center. So I went again from the beginning up to the CCIE. I passed CCIE written. And then it took me not two, but four attempts to get the exam, to get the practical exam, because the CCI DC is another beast, I would
Hmm.
say, and maybe even bigger one than the routing switching, in my opinion. Because in routing switching, you are focusing on routers and switches primarily. So you have like two platforms, let's say, or three platforms to manage and to configure, and multiple aspects of it, of course, but you are kind of more focused. For a CCI DC, you need to cover many different things. Besides routing switching again, because it is still there, routing switching is there, routing protocols are there, spanning tree is there, you need to know your stuff. But besides this, you need to know stuff on top of it. You need to know VXLANs. You need to know data center technologies like VPC. Back then, we knew FEXIS as well, fabric extender technologies. You need to know different platforms, Nexus 2Ks, 5Ks, 10Ks, 9Ks, and they have all different flavors and aspects to their configuration. And we are still just in the Ethernet world, but in CCI/DC you have fiber channel world as well, which is like a parallel world to the TCP/IP stack completely with all OSI model levels and all the routing protocols and other synchronization protocols. So completely like another topic for you. And we are still not the end because you have SDN there, you have like ACI, you have compute there, UCSs with
Storage.
their own stuff, storage, and you have automation there, so different automation tools and aspects. Yeah, and it was very hard to grasp all these aspects at once. And from the beginning, therefore, it took a time. I had to take time really to cover all those topics. Fortunately, I was working on them and with them on
Yes.
my daily basis. That's a really fortunate thing for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't go even for CCIDC, but it basically makes made sense to me because I was really in touch with all those technologies. I was delivering the projects, customers, building those infrastructures on those technologies, troubleshooting them. Yeah, so it made sense. But it was hard. It was hard, in my opinion, and from my point of view, harder than CCIE routing switching.
It took you 4 attempts to get it at fifth.
Yeah, at fourth,
A
three
fourth.
three
Okay.
fails, and then the fourth one
One.
was successful. And there
Yeah.
was also the exam change, the exam version change in
Yeah.
between. So that's even more complication
Mm-hmm.
in the row because I had 2 attempts for older version and then 2 attempts for a newer version. There were some similarities and
Mm-hmm.
some similar sections, but many things changed and was updated. Again, like I was not at the beginning, but I was a few steps back
Hmm.
during the second, third, and fourth attempt.
So you are two-time CCIE.
Hmm.
You have a lot happening professionally. I want to touch about something we were talking before is network automation. So in 2020, Cisco came up with every network engineer should know about network automation. Automation was already a big thing in service provider environment and data center environment, not as much in enterprise environment, if we can call that. And you said that you were already working with this. And people like me have difficulty trying to understand what does it means with network automation. We were talking about this before, but give us some practical example of network automation that you use on a daily basis, yeah, based on your projects.
You are right that automation is kind of a hot topic for our customers as well, and for us as a network engineers as well. We see this trend for many years already, and automation makes sense, from my opinion, for two use cases or for two applications. Either you automate use cases and procedures you repeat constantly, a lot of times on a daily basis, or maybe not even daily basis, but it's repetitive. That task you are automating is really repetitive. It can involve generating a lot of config changes, updating some databases along the way on devices, whatever, but you are doing it many, many times in a repetitive fashion. This kind of stuff really is worth automating because even though the first development of the automation takes a lot of time and you will spend definitely more time on that than compared with doing the task manually, but more you repeat such a task, more you kind of split the time invested into the development inside those runs, and you will at the end save significant amount of time. Such a example can be, for example, configuring new interfaces on your fabric consisting of hundreds of devices, configuring new VLANs on such a fabric, new nowadays VXLAN segments on top of the data center fabric, configuring some changes on all of the devices around, some monitoring protocols or uh, some operational administrational stuff like AAA or syslog or MTP, whatever, changing a lot of little things here and there, which in normal circumstances you would need to do manually and go one by one to each device and configure it by yourself. Here you can prepare the config change in some way. You can use for it some source of truth. You can use some database for it to prepare the change, generate the change, and then let some tool automation tool like Ansible, Python, or Terraform to deploy the change into your network. You can also automate adding new switches inside your network, for example, and provisioning new switches for you. You can easily automate any other possible broader change on top of your infrastructure. And this is really the first part of the things which are worth automating, repetitive things. But on the other side, you have a completely opposite thing, which is task performed once a while. It can be task which is performed once a year or once a half year. And many times it can be complex. It can be some, for example, validation before the upgrade of the infrastructure, which needs to collect a lot of data. It can be some preparation for some disaster recovery tests, let's say, or performing those disaster recovery tests in your network. It can be easily like I don't know, even the upgrade itself, performing the upgrade of your infrastructure, and it can involve so many little tasks which you will not remember after several months of not touching them, which you will not remember after 1 year not touching them. And for these circumstances and these things, automation can come really handy and help you avoid unnecessary mistakes, human mistakes. It will avoid then the troubleshooting related to it. It will speed up the whole procedure. You don't need to review and deeply learn again all the aspects of that procedure. Well, it makes sense to us.
Okay.
For example, in my opinion, also when you are building a new solution, and deploying new infrastructure, automation can be very helpful to help you provision that solution at the beginning. Because that's for us as a technological partner on the market, it's very common that we are building and migrating infrastructures. And the customer is already using some legacy network, let's say, and you need to completely migrate him to the new infrastructure. He's using tons of already existing segments, VLANs, gateways on it, configuration, which needs to be transferred to the new environment. And that can mean generating a lot of configuration files, or it can mean generating a lot of objects inside controllers. When we touch ACI, for example, you need to there configure hundreds of objects at the beginning. Of course, then the operational tasks are easier, but at the beginning you need to fill the database with the intended configuration and intended objects, and there we use automation extensively because I can basically take the data from the legacy network, convert them to the way and to the type of data used in controller, and fill the controller with some automation tool. I mostly use Ansible for that nowadays, or Python.
Okay. Are you with automation? Are you already using some kind of integration with AI or an AI tool? Is this something already happening that you're doing or that you see happening right now?
Not yet for customers, I would say. In our region, the customers use AI here and there, but not in terms of automation, I would say, yet. But we are incorporating automation and AI internally for ourselves. For example, AI is helping build scripts for us to build the code using for automation. Then, of course, you need to know what you are doing. You need to know the outcome. You need to know how to properly test that your script. But the writing of the code itself, the time you spend with writing the code, it can be really optimized and shortened by using AI. And we are doing that inside the development environments, inside your IDE. Most of us has already some AI copilot helping us with writing the scripts. So nowadays you don't need to necessarily write the whole Python script on your own. You can get help, but you need to understand what you are doing because AI can hallucinate, AI can do things not so optimally, and you need to know that. You need to notice this behavior and fix it or alter it based on your needs. But in general, it can be helpful. I find AI when developing some scripts, even for network engineers, very helpful.
Which kind of AI tools are you using? Are we talking about ChatGPT or something else?
ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot as well, Perplexity,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I got it.
Hmm.
Now, moving away from this craziness of network
Hmm.
automation, you decided to also write a book. So tell us a little bit about this experience.
It's
Why?
related.
Why write a book?
It's related kind of to all the previous achievements and successes
Mm,
because basically, as you said, what happened after my first CCIE, I was in touch with a lot of people, a lot of new people, headhunters, colleagues of networking folks, and I would say thanks to the second CCIE, like this environment even got wider, and I was asked or I was reached by after it was exactly after second CCIE DC, I was reached by this editor from A-Press publisher from the US, from the New York, and he asked me if I would be interested in writing some technical books, some technical learning guide, for example, about the stuff I work with, about the stuff which was part of the CCIE exam as well, and where I feel to be expert in. And this was the spark, this was the initial contact I made with the publisher, and they basically brought this opportunity to me. So I was not intentionally looking into writing book, and I was not really even thinking about something like that. I was delivering the trainings at that point, of course. For the past 10 years, I'm delivering the trainings, and I'm trying to uh, give my knowledge and my experience further. But I never ever have thought about myself as an author and as a technological learning guide author, especially. So at the beginning, I was afraid, honestly. I couldn't imagine myself doing that, and I was underestimating myself because I thought that I will not be able to do something like that. I am not capable of writing a whole book. But luckily, I have my loving wife, and she persuaded me and she pushed me into it. And she said, "Well, this is awesome opportunity for you. Take it, work on it, and I will support you. I will provide you the time for it, and let's do it because maybe it will not repeat something like that." So even thanks to her and thanks then some of my thoughts about it, I decided to go into it. I decided to create kind of a structure for a book. And the topic, of course, was about the technology I was working with intensively, and that was Cisco ACI. At that point, I was multiple years into Cisco ACI after dozens of projects already on my account. So for me, it was natural really to write about this experience and this technology and put everything I know and everything I got from the experience there to the book. So I prepared the structure of the topics. I sent the description with them to the publisher and it was ultimately approved. And then I started writing and it took more than 1 year to finish the book. 3 months, I would say.
So is it a practical book or just a theory book?
It is a practical. Yeah. That was my major intention and primary intention for the book to cover also theoretical aspects of the
Hmm.
technology, to provide you the baseline, the basis, but to support every single topic with as much as possible practical examples. Because sometimes you cannot do much practically, for example, when you are describing VXLANs as a protocol or when you are describing switches, yeah, in general. But then every configuration aspect, every feature aspect of the solution, I try to show practically, try to put there also the commands, verification commands. I put there hints from experience. Yeah, be careful with this, be careful with that. I know that this is not working optimally, but when you use this one, it will be better. Yeah, stuff like that. So whatever I could remember and come up with, I put it there, and it's like kind of a description of my experience. And in that book, I at the end went from really zero, from anything, I didn't expect any previous knowledge of ACI, and I went through all the aspects up to the automation we discussed. So automation is pretty big part of the book as well, and I'm covering all the different ways how you can automate ACI and what can you use and with practical examples. And I think that, if I remember correctly, there are also some scripts available with that book, so you will gain access to GitHub repository and you can download the scripts used in that book and expand them yourself.
Okay, that's great. And this book can be bought on Amazon?
Yes, on Amazon, on Springer's Nature webpage, directly from Apress. It's
Hmm.
it's on O'Reilly's, for example. So there are multiple ways how to get to that book.
Okay. I'm going to add a link in the video description later on so people can download and reach out to you in
Thank
case
you.
they want. So before we wrap up, there are a couple of things that I would like to get from you. You're still doing like a great journey in IT, networking. I would like to know from you if you had to like give any direction, recommendation to someone who's starting now, wants to get into IT and wants to kind of be where you are. Like, I want to be a senior professional network engineer. What would the path, what would you guide him to do? What are the things that you believe that now, based on the things that we
Mhm.
have, that is, you have to start here and do this and that, take this certification, don't take this. Just show me the roadmap.
Okay, okay. I'm getting this question actually quite often from my surroundings, from my colleagues and friends and family even, because when you say I want to get into IT, that's a pretty wide and broad spectrum of things you can do. And I always tell to everybody first, try thinking what would interest you or what would spark that interest in you. If it would be something more oriented on programming, on creating applications, or if, for example, networking and interconnecting things together is something which seems interesting to you, or if you are maybe artistic person, you can go into graphic design or UI design and stuff like that. But at the beginning, it's really hard to tell for most of the people where to go, which direction to take. Then, well, if some of them incline to networking, let's say, and they really want to do the networking because they see me or somebody else in the networking field and they want to become the professionals like we are, many times it is, or most of the times, it is crucial to start with the basics and with the elementary building blocks of the networking, I would say. Even though we now have a lot of study resources available, a lot of books, a lot of AI generated stuff and everything, you always need to build a proper basis and really very hard basis, which you will then build upon. I see that many maybe younger people or maybe younger colleagues, they want to immediately jump to the complex stuff, to the automation, let's say, without understanding the elementary principles, networking principles, without understanding the networking protocols. And that's what I would suggest definitely to start from the beginning and make your way up to this level of seniority. For example, we have on a CCIE level. It's hard really to pursue some CCIE topics if you do not have elementary basics, CCNA level, for example. So there is no shortcut, I would say, in this area. You need to spend your time on learning stuff, learning basic operational stuff of the networks, protocols of the networks, configuration of the networking devices. You definitely, sorry, you definitely need to spend time practicing all the stuff you learn. Don't do it just theoretically. Go into the practice, test everything. Be curious. Ask yourself, what will happen if I will do this? What will happen if I will change this? If you even learn something and the way how it is done, try to broke it, to configure it. Otherwise, what will happen? Observe the outcomes. And this is the stuff, in my opinion, to learn properly. to stay curious, to learn from your mistakes, because if you do something bad and you do it wrong, then you will remember it, the troubleshooting process and the fix for that stuff. And over the years, you can definitely become a senior engineer with all the experience you will get along the way, but there is no shortcut for it. So you need to grow. You need to grow.
Okay. Another thing is
Hmm?
relocation.
Hmm.
So this is something we were talking as well. One common thing I see around, I would say, senior professionals is that some point in time, they had to relocate from one country to another, from one city to another. How important do you think it is for someone who wants to grow professionally to leave its comfort zone and go to different city, different country, looking for better opportunities?
You are right. You are right. It happens a lot, and it it happened in my case as well. I started working in Slovakia, in Košice, eastern part of Slovakia, and then thanks to the opportunities and thanks to the chances and offers I got from abroad, specifically from Czech Republic, I decided to move there. I decided to relocate to the Prague and work from there now on, or from that point on. And this is happening most of the times really for senior engineers because the big companies tend to reside in the capital cities and the metropoles of the countries inside Europe, and mostly they require your on-site presence for whatever reasons. Yeah, there can be some data sovereignty reasons, there can be some other organizational reasons why they want you to be on-site part of the team and present in that city, in that country. So if you want to really get those opportunities and work on them and apply for them, you will be most probably required to move at least once, because after you move to some bigger capital city, some metropole, then you can stay there easily and you don't need to move anymore, and you will apply for different options there and attend, or you will then be able to work on multiple
In other
different,
projects.
yeah, the projects.
Okay.
But you are right, you are right. It is part of our job, it is part of our career usually, that at least one or two relocations are needed
Yeah.
for you to get better opportunities.
Okay. So last question. Plans for the future. What we can expect from you.
Okay, I have some plans definitely. Let's see how it will go, but after 10 years, I'm changing my employer soon, so I will move from one partner in Czech Republic to another partner in Czech Republic. I will still stay within the Cisco environment, let's say, but I expect also to broaden my knowledge into the different vendors and provide more like architectural services for our customers. I should be a solution architect soon for the new company. When it comes to the networking, I wouldn't stop with two CCIEs. So my long-term goal is still to expand number of them, because I like the area we were talking about, the automation. From the university studies, I have very close relation with the automation stuff, with the programmability and development itself. So again, kind of a natural evolvement for me would be to pursue automation CCIE, the previous former DevNet expert exam. The Cisco is transitioning to CCIE automation these days. So if then the CCA automation will be the next one for me and is on the roadmap, long-term roadmap for me. And then as I'm already doing a lot of design stuff and architecture stuff, and I will be definitely in future as a solution architect, I would like to go for CCD as well, design expert. I have already written on the account, and now it will be about the practical exam. It's for the both actually the case for a CCIE automation and for CCD. At the same time, I like to teach. I like really to share the knowledge, to give my knowledge further because all the experience and all the years I invested inside or into me, I don't want to keep them inside me. I want really to share with others. So maybe during the next year, if everything will goes well, I will work on some course of myself and of mine. I will most probably create some CCI DC course. Let's see.
Let's see. The future looks bright. Yeah. Thanks for taking the time. It was a pleasure to have you, and hope we can talk on another round. Thanks, man.